Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. My name is Brittany Wolf. I am the front end and digital designer for iTrack and iSoft Data Systems. And I just wanted to extend a thank you to everybody for attending today's webinar on SEO, GEO, and protecting your business online. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and hop on in. Our first slide just gonna go over the three main topics we're covering today. We have SEO, what it is and why it still matters, GEO, which is the emerging world of AI-powered search and how to show up there, and predatory SEO companies, how to spot them and how to protect yourself. We're gonna also have a Q&A at the end for anybody that has any questions. SEO. What is SEO? SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. At its core, it's about two things: helping search engines understand your content and helping users find your site and decide whether it's worth their click. Basically, you can think of SEO like a storefront on a busy street. SEO is everything you do to make sure your sign is visible, your window display makes sense, and people being a search engine in this example, know you're there. So now we have what search engines look for. The number one thing search engines look for immediately are what they call the search essentials. Search essentials consist of a list of technical requirements, spam policies to avoid, and key best practices, which I'll go over on the next slide. For technical requirements, they look to make sure Googlebot isn't blocked. The page works, meaning that search engines receive an HTTP 200 success status code, and your pages have indexable content. Spam policies to avoid or work to prevent include taking the steps to make sure your website doesn't get hacked, there's no abuse on expired domains, avoid keyword stuffing, link spam, and machine-generated traffic. Both technical requirements and spam policies are the basics of website design, so they should automatically be included or thought of while building your website. It's not really something that we have to take actions to do. It's just kind of there, but it's always good to make sure that, you're meeting the technical requirements and avoiding being hacked or domain abuse, etc. So basically, at a high level, search engines are looking for sites that are technically sound, honest, and genuinely useful. So for the core SEO best practices, that's what we're going to be covering next. And you can basically break them down into three groups: organizing your site, making your site interesting and useful, and influencing how your search results look. For organizing your site, this is the foundation. It's important to utilize correct headers. This means only one H1 header, which an H1 header is basically the title of the page. And then you'll have multiple H2 and H3 headers, H4 headers, etc. That each of these headers explains your page's hierarchy to the search engine. So you got your page title, which is your H1 header. Then your H2 header is going to be a subtopic of your H1, while H3s are even more, subtopics of your H2s. Um, we also focus on pretty links, which are clean, readable URLs. For websites that use our part search or e-commerce plugins, the URLs for available inventory items are broken down into manufacturer, model, part or vehicle type, and inventory ID. Pretty links basically make it easy for both users and search engines to understand what a page is about before they even click on it. In your navigation, it's important to group related content together. It depends on how in-depth you want your navigation to be. You can keep it simple with just a home page, search, contact, and about page, or you can get a little bit more detailed by breaking navigation down into groups of relevant part types, vehicle types, other services like towing, recovery, etc. And then the very, very last one is reducing duplicate content, which helps to reduce confusion for search engines on which pages to rank. While in most cases, this is actually a pretty easy thing to do, just, don't use the same content on multiple pages. It can be a little tricky when it comes to displaying inventory because you might have, like, especially for iTrack customers, you may have like an engine or multiple engines that are all the same make, model, and year, but they may differ in quality, or other little details. And that's where it becomes very important to fill out as many details as possible in iTrack, along with an informative, unique description for each part. On this page, I'm just kind of breaking down one of our a standard web page, and this is a product detail page from our online marketplace, Yellow Iron Parts. So in the URL right at the top, you can see there's an extra segment in there, a couple extra segments in there in the URL that aren't necessary for just a single vendor web page, and that's going to be like the store ID. But we combine multiple fields in this URL. Like Komatsu is the manufacturer, the SAA number is the model number, engine assembly is the part type, and then the inventory ID is at the end, which is 68772. We also utilize these fields to combine them and make a complete H1 header, which on this page is the Komatsu SAA engine assembly. And just one thing to keep in mind, and I think I already brought this up before, there can only be one H1 header per page. So it's always important to include the most important keywords or key phrases in it. For our H2 on this page, we have the vendor name, which is Heavy Clip. The H2, H3s, and H4 headers can be used multiple times throughout the page, but it's still important in those headers to throw in your most important keyword or key phrase. You just don't want to overdo it. That's called keyword stuffing. It's when you're just getting that keyword in there as many places as you can, even if it doesn't make sense. That's not what you want to do. Okay, now we're going to go on to making your site interesting and useful. This is where content, keywords, and key phrases come in. You'll want to think about the actual words or phrases your customers will type into Google or Bing, not what you want them to search for. So you'll also want to use the keywords and key phrases naturally throughout your page's content and its headers, and then link to relevant resources and build internal linking between your own pages. That's very important. And also just good user experience in general. Avoid cluttered ads, slow load times, confusing layouts. And in this example, I'm just showing one of the first paragraphs of text on Yellow Iron Parts. My main keyword or key phrase is heavy equipment parts, but I'm also throwing in some other keywords like replacement dozer blade, used transmission, and I'm also linking to those search results for like a dozer blade that will link right to the dozer blade search results. And four, I think this is the last one, influencing how your search results look. When your site appears in search results, you want it to look its best. That means writing clear, compelling page and site titles, writing meta descriptions that give users a preview of what they will find, using schema markup, which we'll talk a little bit more later, to create rich snippets, and using high quality images with descriptive alt text so search engines understand your visuals. And in this example, again, I'm using Yellow Iron Parts, and you can see we have Yellow Iron Parts buy and sell heavy equipment parts and accessories. The meta description, Yellow Iron Parts carries a wide range of heavy used equipment parts and accessories. And then I have multiple other pages from the website linked there as well with their meta descriptions. Now we're going to go on to GEO. This is something that's newer in the web industry with the whole rise in AI, and it's something that not a lot of businesses have caught up to yet. So what the heck is GEO? GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. You'll also hear others refer to AI SEO or even AEO. which they might be used interchangeably, but they actually are slightly different. So we're just going to focus on GEO for this for the webinar. GEO is described as the practice of positioning your brand and content so that AI platforms cite, recommend, or mention your company when users ask questions. It's a pretty big shift from traditional SEO. With traditional SEO, the main goal is your rank. You want to be at the top of search results and you want to get someone to click on your website. But with GEO, you actually now want to just provide information on your website in a way that AI can just pull answers directly from your content and cite your business when a user asks a relevant question. So what is AI looking for? Good thing, SEO fundamentals still apply. We don't have to do anything there other than just make sure the SEO on your website is in good standing. You don't need to start your website from scratch. And so that basically means the same things that you make your site good for search engines also make it good for AI. Making sure your site is crawlable with the robots, TXT, hosting, and CDN all allowing access. Good internal linking as always. An optimized user experience for real users, making it mobile friendly, speedy, responsive. Important information should always also be in text form, not just buried in images or PDFs. Structured data and schema that matches what is on your page, and an up-to-date Google business profile. SEO versus GEO. What stays the same and what is changing? When you compare the two approaches, you'll see that, as we said before, the core principles don't change. High quality content, accessibility and crawlable sites, and a credible trust all still matter. But a few things do change pretty significantly. For one, where you need to have a presence. With traditional SEO, it's largely about your own website and blog, but GEO requires a strategic presence beyond that. So AI is going to not only pull from your website or from social media, it's also going to start looking at Reddit, threads, YouTube videos, industry publications, review platforms, and even more. So you kind of have to spread out from your normal channels of communication and start thinking like finding some niche forums, a niche subreddit that you can really focus on and start just commenting on and posting and getting yourself a little bit of an audience in that way. When it comes to structuring your information, traditional SEO is going to award comprehensive coverage with long, thorough pages that cover the topic deeply, but GEO rewards content that is easy to extract and reassemble. So that means that each paragraph or each chunk of text should be able to be pulled out of your web page and stand on its own. And it makes sense and it answers the question. So if just yeah, it just basically needs to be stand on its own and be able to answer the question. You'll want to use your headings, your H2 and H3 headings, and phrase them as questions if possible. And if you do frame it as a question, then you need to have the answer come early in the following text. And that means basically the first or second sentence of your paragraph. That's where AI is going to be looking for that answer. What you're measuring is also kind of changing. With SEO, you're watching rankings, clicks, and traffic. With GEO, the metrics are your AI visibility scores, share of voice and AI generated answers, sentiment, and context. It's basically a brand new measurement space, so we can definitely expect things to shift and change as the tools continue to evolve. But at this time, what we as website owners and designers need to do is pretty clear. Just make sure SEO is working and probably just rewriting a lot of content, honestly. All right, our next topic is just how iTrack is adapting with our internal websites and even our client websites. For our team at iTrack, we've been building into these practices and implementing them into our web design process, all while updating our own websites just to not only for practice on my end, but also just to make sure everybody is kind of on the same level as far as how their website attracts customers and looks to AI search engines. For the iTrack's GEO practices, we make sure that there is an LLMS.txt file. For that, we just utilize the WordPress Yoast plugin, which we use for a lot of SEO basics. Pretty great plugin, honestly. And then we update the schema markup. One thing that's a big thing that we'll cover a little bit more is adding an FAQ section on all of your important pages, using question-based headings, and promoting that everyone gets company and promoting your blog posts that also answer questions or have the blog title is a question as well. So you just want to answer questions. That is the biggest change, is you're answering questions that people are searching for now. On to the next slide, the LLMS.txt file. This is a brand new standard, so most websites probably don't even have this implemented yet. It helps AI-powered tools understand who you are and what your content means with a plain text summary. Basically, it's like an introduction. So you're introducing your company and your website to the AI models. In the screenshot, sorry about the small text, but it gives you an idea of what the file will look like. This one is one that we created for the homepage of getitrack.com. So basically what we do is we provide a brief description along with specific page URLs for content privacy in the homepage. Then we were able to choose which other pages we wanted to highlight as important. And if you have a blog, you can also choose some of your top blog posts, whether it's your top performing blog posts or the ones that you think are the most important. And you can also plug them in there. So it automatically pulls in the WordPress blog categories and tags, which is really nice if you utilize both of those. And then for the final step on this page, you just want to give it your sitemap, which most sitemaps are your page title URL / sitemap.xml or sitemap underscore index.xml. And schema markup. Schema markup isn't anything new, but it is still just as important. Schema is structured data that tells AI and search engines exactly what entities, meaning people, products, or places, and relationships exist on a page. In this example, once again, is the homepage of Get iTrack. I have the schema set to define Get iTrack as a software application. I've given it a custom description along with defining the operating systems, software version, and any features that we thought were most important. FAQs. This is a big one. They're all big, but FAQs, AI really loves a good FAQ. So it is super important now, and it's only gaining in importance. So you'll want to definitely on your home page, and then any other pages you deem as important, you should add four frequently asked questions. You know, how many that you honestly feel are worthwhile. I would say 4 should be a minimum. On this example, I have just the iTrack software on getitrack.com. What does iTrack inventory software do? And it answers it. Question-based headings. Another important one, your H2 and H3 headings is going to be important to phrase them as questions so that questions that your customers are actually asking, along with answering that question in the following paragraph, which we discussed already. Definition style explanations as well. You want these explanations should be clear and self-contained, meaning that they work in or out of the context of your website. And then blog posts that answer questions. So not just product promotion anymore, not just showing off your new features or any specials you might have, or not necessarily even just being like a thought leader. but you want to just become more informative and more helpful to your users and your customers. So, big thing for blog posts is to create how-tos, guides, and explainers. These are going to be very huge for AI to want to pull from. One of my most recent blog posts for yellow iron parts was how to identify hydraulic cylinder failure before it causes downtime. So identify hydraulic cylinder failure is my main keyword phrase. And that is something that somebody might, type into Google and they're looking just how do I figure out how to prevent this before it happens? And then AI can find all the websites that are also asking that question and then be able to answer it. So for how iTrack sets up SEO on your website, after all the talk on good practices and how iTrack is adapting with our own websites, we want to now kind of take a second to talk about what iTrack does for your websites. And we're just going to briefly go over these since we've really discussed most of them. For our SEO framework that we build into every site, we start with clean keyword-rich URLs, optimized page titles and part names, dedicated pages for individual parts. These help to catch long tail searches that your competitors may not be capturing, meta descriptions for each page, proper heading structure, fast load times and responsive design, meaning it also works on mobile, dynamically updated inventory, which means when you make an update in iTrack to an available part, it will update that information on your website as well. This is also going to keep your website and content fresh in the eyes of Google. So every time you make an update, you're just telling Google like, hey, the site is still active. We're still worth revisiting. It's such a good thing to Google. Google's always looking for fresh websites. Image alt text, the LLMS TXT file, which is I have already gone and turned on for all of our current clients, and then the schema. You may or may not be wondering now, what can we do as a company to improve our SEO? Definitely a handful of important tasks that can be done, and iTrack, we are also available to help out with the majority of these. So one of the easiest things that you can do is to update your website content. This includes headers, paragraph text, and images, and format them as questions. Another fairly easy task is creating and posting blog posts consistently, but it's more important to focus on the quality of your blog post over the quantity of your blog posts. These posts should be informative and you'll want to think about creating like how-tos and guides like I was talking about before. You want to show that you are an expert in what you are talking about. Show authority. It's a huge thing for AI and Google as well. While we can't help you write the blog posts, we can definitely get your blog set up as a whole. So that's something that you can also reach out to us as well to help you out with. A huge one is claiming and optimizing your Google Business profile. This is free and it directly affects how you show up in local results in Google Maps. I do think a lot of businesses that we work with already do have this set up, but if you don't, just give us a call and or email us, and we're also more than happy to walk you through getting it all set up. And then one of the last ones is backlinks. Getting backlinks is a way to show that you are an authority in your topic. But it's kind of hard to get backlinks. I will admit that you want genuine backlinks from relevant sources. You don't want 100 backlinks from irrelevant or spammy sites. So it's something that I think I am constantly working on and trying to figure out how to get better non-spammy backlinks for all of our internal websites. We can't really help you out too much with that for your own website, but one thing that we can promise is that we will add your website with a link to your website to our web portfolio page on Get iTrack, so you can count on one backlink from us, at least one. We can give you more. But that's something that you can also, if you want to just talk more about that, you can also give us a call as well. Now on to predatory SEO companies. This is the last thing that I just kind of wanted to talk about as a main topic. It's been coming up recently with a couple of our web clients, and it is predatory SEO companies and the common tactics that they use. I want to also say not every SEO company is a scam. There are definitely a bunch of legitimate agencies that do a lot of great work, but there's also a whole industry of companies that use fear, confusion, and inflated pricing to take money from businesses who just don't really know they don't know what they're looking for, and they're hearing all of these urgent words, and they're like, okay, yeah, no, our website's horrible. We got to do this. And then you go and you spend thousands and thousands of dollars to not see anything actually happen. So this is just, we kind of wanted to talk about this. Some things to look out for. Fake audit reports, guaranteed number one rankings, vague deliverables and long-term contracts, and urgency tactics. For fake audit reports, this is one of the most common tactics. They'll say they'll give you a free SEO audit, and then what you'll see are just a bunch of scary scores, red alerts, urgent warnings. A legitimate audit will identify genuine issues with clear explanations and a prioritized plan to address them. If an audit is designed to scare rather than inform, it's a big red flag right there. Guaranteed number one rankings. Literally, no one can guarantee this, not even Google. So if someone is telling you that the work they're going to do is going to make you number one on search rankings, they're lying. That's just what it is, and it's unfortunate. Um, Smart SEO will improve your chances over time, but it's a process and not a promise. Vague deliverables and long-term contracts. Be wary of contracts that are vague about what you're actually paying for. Ongoing SEO optimization with no specifics, 12-month commitments with no measurable goals, and reports full of metrics but empty on meaning. All of those, red flags. You should always be able to answer, what did they do this month and how do I know it helped? If you can't answer those questions, then you might want to rethink working with the SEO company you're working with. And the last red flag, urgency tactics. These are pressure tactics designed to make you decide quickly before you actually have time to think critically. Good SEO is a long-term investment and not a flash sale. Trustworthy companies are going to want you to make an informed decision and not a panicked one. And before we get into the Q&A, just want to say that the next steps basically just to contact iTrack, and we can help you out with the following, which is updating and improving your content on your website, setting up and claiming your Google Business profile, and then getting started with your blogging. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.